Welcome back to the Maven Show. This is your host Rohit. Today we have Kathy, the entrepreneur and author. Thank you, Kathy, for getting into the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I think you are the one of the women entrepreneur and started with the entrepreneurship long time back, and you've been in industry, and you have recently published one book as well. So can you just give a quick intro of yourself, how you got started in entrepreneurship and how is the journey so far?
I got interested in doing my own business probably when I was about, I think 38 years old. I had been working for other people in the field of real estate property management. I had a background in bookkeeping and banking. I only went to 1 year of formal college. I did end up going to a real estate school for a while and got my broker's license. I was a broker for 40 years. I don't work well with others. I don't like people telling me what to do and how to do it. So when I had enough experience, I went ahead and started my own real estate property management company. And I was a single mom with 2 kids. I had $100 to spend to get this thing off the ground. And 11 years later, I sold it for $90,000 and retired at 50.
Got it.
After that, I got bored. So I started another small company for 2 years while I lived in a town. I put myself out there as someone that could help people. I was like a temporary employment agency, just me. And then I moved to another place, and I was helping a good friend of mine, and he had leukemia, and he died. And I got really sick from all that, taking care of him. And I was very close to death. I was in a coma for 3 weeks, and it took me a year to get my strength back. So again, I got a little bored, and I started writing my memoir, which was about my life and my sickness. And the book was published a couple of years ago when I was 74 years old. And it's just never too late to get out there and do something you love. And that's grown because that's a business. Promoting a book is a business.
Yeah.
And so I work about 6 hours a day on that and promote myself mainly through podcasts. And you're my 101st podcast in 2.5 years. And I've been able to that way get my message about my book all over the world. And it's free. So I still enjoy this. And I just, if somebody needs to sit down, if they're not going to go into the traditional workplace, I think, and really look at what your talents are and what's fun. Like for me, it was math and organizational skills. And then you've got to find a passion behind that. And mine was just helping people.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm doing the right thing when I'm having fun and I'm feeling energized. So it's not for everybody, but I love it.
Awesome. Cool. And what's the, like being as a woman entrepreneur, what would you like to speak? Like never give up on the goals, like being as a woman entrepreneur is obviously different from the entrepreneurship into the men's lifestyle. Or so how you would like to speak about that?
Back when I was doing all this, that was about 40, 50 years ago. And there was still quite the stigma of women not being as smart or as clever or as strong. So working in a bank, I was working in a bank as a teller. I'd been there a couple of years. And the job that they gave me, in addition to my regular duties, was training men to be managers. I would have them on my teller line and I would teach them all the basics of all that. And then they would skip right over me and become managers. And I was really upset about that. And I went to the head of the company and got some other ladies together and said, this is ridiculous. We have all this experience. There's no reason that we shouldn't have women in management in banks. And it was, I was there a couple of years, and then I quit to do something else. But after that, they started hiring women managers. And the first 2 women that were hired were twins. And I thought that was very interesting. So they each got their own bank to manage. So that was something that I felt very strongly from the beginning.
Uh-huh. Cool. And how you would like to speak about like the life outside the work, like, so being into entrepreneurship, I think, or being into business, it's real, probably not for just specific, but for most of the people, like they've been into work, like in and in, like so deep. So what's the life and how should they consider their life outside the work?
I just found that I really didn't like having someone over my shoulder all the time telling me what to do. When I knew the best way to do something, I didn't need some yokel that just came in and started a job telling me what to do. So I got in a lot of trouble that way. I was very outspoken. I was confident of my talents and my work skills. At one company I was working on a commission, and boy, that's a real shock when you go from having a salary, and I've got 2 kids to support. I worked for this company, but I could see that there was possibilities there. So I thought, I'm going to try this out. And for my first month working there, I had a commission check that was enough to give me a tank of gas. That was it. So I worked harder and harder and harder. And eventually they came to me and says, we're going to have to cut down on your commission amount. You're making more than the manager.
Wow.
And I said, that's too bad. She needs to work harder. So they were going to cut my pay. So I thought, heck with them. I started my own company. And eventually I got to be bigger than the company I started, that I was working for. So I think you've got to be somebody that's really confident, has some guts, and can follow up.
Got it. Awesome. And I think you would like to also speak about, like, it's never too old to start a business, like there's no specific age. Even someone is just being in 60s or 50s, but they can still try to make the things work out, probably because everyone has their own situations in their life.
Well, the thing that happens when you get to 50 or 60 is you've worked at other occupations, and what you're where you go on vacation, you kind of like certain things. You like to fish, or you like to travel, or whatever, and you've got all this wisdom and all this information, and to just retire at 65 is like throwing it all away. So a lot of the people I hang out with go ahead and said, well, I always like to read. Maybe I'll write a book. I've always liked to travel. Maybe I'll be a travel guide. I've got a friend that liked to take pictures. So now, he's going on safaris and taking pictures and showing people how to do it. Again, it's never too late. And I feel so sorry for these people that sit down at 62 or 65 and watch television. That's it. That's their lives. And you've still got, 30, 40 years left. And a lot of this stuff can be done from home. You don't have to travel all over the world anymore. You can just get on a podcast, start a podcast. It doesn't matter how old. It's better when you're older because you do have this experience and wisdom.
Not just a podcast. It's just a small thing, to be honest. Like, you can start anything, like a blog, podcast, any social, getting into events, being a speaker, just trying to influence others. So it's just a way to do so, I think. Yeah.
Yes. And to give back. There's a lot of old folks' homes, people that go to retirement centers, and they're for the most part bored silly. So if you have a skill, maybe you're a woodworker, or you've got a talent, you go over there spend an hour, sit down, show people how to do stuff, talk to them, engage them, and then you feel terrific. I do that too with book presentations. So it's never too late just to give of yourself. It's not about making money when you get that old. Hopefully you put enough away that you don't have to work. So this is fun.
Awesome. So tell us something about your book, like you recently have published one book. So what that book is all about, and what's the quick summary, someone would like to listen to.
It is a memoir. That means it's the story of my life, which has been, as you can tell, a little erratic. And the main feature is when I got to my 50s and was helping my friend and got very sick and was in the coma. I had a near-death experience. Part of that was what they call a distressing near-death experience. So my book is entitled Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. And I had a pretty long journey in hell, and then I did go to heaven and was sent back saying they told me I had too much left to do at 50. So that's what I'm trying to do. And it's on Amazon. It's on any place you buy books. I've got a website. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome, Candy. So any best advice do you have for women entrepreneurs who are just about to get started, who have the eager to get started into business, even with small business, own anything? How should they keep going, even they are not making enough money, or even if they're not like getting what they expected, so what should they be thinking?
I think there's a lot of knowledge in numbers. There's a lot of women's groups out there, either locally, business women of, Santa Cruz, California, or whatever. You get in with other women. It's very empowering, and also they have good ideas. You could probably do that again online, get in touch with women's business groups. And then there's seminars you can take. It's just that we are equal. And so everything out there for men is also available for women. And, just use your guts, get out there.
That's real. And I think business takes guts, to be honest. Yeah.
Yes, whatever it is. And perseverance and sacrifice. But all these things make you feel like a better human. You're more rounded.
Yeah.
More interesting, more valuable.
Yeah. Awesome. Making a better person, a better version. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Katie. So thank you so much for getting into the show and trying to share the insights about the women entrepreneurship, even turning nothing into something, So thank you so much for getting in.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.